Welcome to Question Everything, the show where we question everything and change the world one question at a time. Today, we have Jessica McCallister with us, Nutritionista, boss, author, veteran, and mother. There's so much to unpack in this episode. And I was doing my research on you, and I just see the passion that you have for changing people's lives through eating healthier. And I can totally relate to this because I did my own studies to find out how to hack my own body to lose weight, and it worked. So I know that there's value in nutrition, and I know that you're passionate about it from checking out your website and at taking a peek at the book. I didn't buy it for myself yet, but Operation Nutrition, from beginner to boss. And I see that boss is an acronym as well.
It is.
I'm curious to find out what the acronym is because I in all my research, I could not find out what it was.
Yes, so B.O.S.S is an acronym for becoming our superior selves. And there's a whole story behind that too.
Wow, that
Yeah,
is awesome.
thank you. Yes, yes. Yeah. Like I said, there's a story, I just like you have had my own struggles, and being a dietitian, people automatically assume that, number one, you're doing the right thing all the time when it comes to eating. And for me, that's not the case. I love to eat. I love food, just like most people do. And I had a lot of challenges when it came to food, because often we gravitate toward those unhealthy choices. And I was pregnant with my daughter about 14 years ago, and just gained a ton of weight. I mean, it was to a point where I was huffing and puffing going upstairs. And, I said to myself, never again, like, I cannot live like this. So, I had her, and eventually, again, like you, just started researching and figuring out how to make changes to my food and my exercise so that I, was in a better place with my health and my energy. And long story short, I kind of took a lot of notes and did a lot of research. And, I feel like I can't be selfish with this. I have to, share this with other women that are struggling similarly to what I was dealing with. So, and in that, we become our superior selves. We're at our best physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and a lot of that does have to do with how we eat. So, yeah.
I love that you say that, becoming our superior selves. When you find your purpose, it has you. You don't have it. Like, you're
Yes.
searching for it this whole time, and then when you find it, it's like your entire life changes and life gets easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, at what point did you decide to go from researching to actually getting certified as a nutritionist?
Mm-hmm. So actually, I was already a dietitian during that point. Yeah, I went to school, graduated with my bachelor's, and at that time, I wasn't sure if I was really wanting to pursue being a registered dietitian because it was a lot of work. At the time, I didn't feel like it was really worth it. I knew I wanted to work in healthcare, but I was talking to a friend of mine that. At the time of my bachelor's, she was my strength coach because I was on the women's rifle team at the time. So, caught up with her, just kind of catching up, and she had already gone through the internship and took her certification test, and she was practicing as an RD, and she said, Jessica, if you want any kind of validity or any opportunity within the field of nutrition, like, you need to go ahead and do that and get that RD. So I went ahead and followed in the same path, did my internship, sat for my exam, and long story short, here I am. But, I just always knew, again, when I took that first nutrition class and learned that there's just a strong connection between what we eat and how it affects our bodies, to where, like, we can make significant changes. Like, I wanted to learn more about that. I wanted to explore that piece of health in biology and, and wellness, really. So I think it
Yeah.
was that point that I knew that this is what I wanted to do.
Okay. And do you find that there is, I know a lot of people think that, if you exercise and you eat right, that there's this magic that happens. Do you find that it's a more of a balance between not just eating less or eating right, but eat, sleep, diet, and water?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so many connections. Not it's not just as simple as eating right and moving your body. Because again, if you don't get proper sleep, that affects how you move your body, your energy, and it also affects how you digest your food. So,
Mm.
again, there's this overlap between, our mental health, our sleep habits, our physical health and exercise and stress levels, things like that, and how we eat. To where even in my practice, the focus is not always on food. Sometimes the clients and the people I work with, we focus on getting a good night's sleep consistently. Before we make changes to the diet. So again, I really like to take a holistic approach when it comes to that because it's just hard to change any kind of eating habits if everything else is just off balance. For sure.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. And I was doing in my research, I found that your body will work to maintain the shape that it's at 30. And so at 26, I had read this piece of information. And by 28, I got to my goal weight. I had the muscles I wanted, the whole body. And then it came slowly, just being consistent with everything. And then I gradually let it, and it took a while to come back, but it felt like overnight.
Mhm.
And I, I know that there are 7 types of nutrients, and I wanted you to kind of unpack those for us. I want to give the audience something that they can leave with and a reason to come to you for more, essentially.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There are actually six that we focus on. So the first three are your energy containing nutrients. Those are your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. Just to kind of give a quick nutrition 101, um, carbs are your quick energy. So if I'm going to sprint across the room, I'm going to exercise, my body's going to use carbs for that quick energy. Proteins are your building blocks. Those are the things that help to build muscle, maintain our tissues and cell functions and all that. And fats, of course, help to not only provide the extra padding we need for our organs, but they're also important in coating our neurons and, related to brain health, all of that. So, again, those are the ones that we find in food that provide us energy when we think of calories. The other three are non-calorie or non-energy nutrients. So that's your vitamins, your minerals, and water. So those are the six essential nutrients. And of course, vitamins and minerals we're familiar with, and there are so many. But with vitamins, they're your water soluble and your fat soluble, and that just means that when we take them in, they go either to the water and our body absorbs it, or they go to the fat and our body absorbs them and uses them for their purposes. And then minerals, we're familiar with sodium, magnesium, iron, zinc. All of those are the major ones, and they all play such an important role in just how our body maintains its day-to-day functions as well. And then water, of course, we know that our bodies are about 60 to 70% water. So we need that every day. That's why it's one of the essential nutrients. So again, that's kind of a breakdown crash course in
Okay.
nutrition. Yeah.
And of all of these, what would you say is the most important?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Right?
Um, yeah, because I think it just all depends, and I don't want to skirt around your question, but it really just all depends on where you are health wise. Because there could be a time where hydration is super important. Even depending on the activity you're doing. So it may be most important for a person to focus on maintaining good hydration. It could be, if I'm preparing for a marathon, carbohydrates are important because not only do I need those, to fuel my training, but I also need to have a significant amount, going into a race. If you are trying to maintain your muscle mass, like women that are over 40, and especially over 50, we tend, well, not women just in general, but men and women, we tend to lose muscle mass as we age. And so, at a certain point in our 40s and 50s, protein is important because we need to be able to have that on board to maintain and build muscle. So again, it all depends on what's going on when it comes to what's important.
That's interesting. And wow. Okay. So I'm learning even more. Every time I think I know enough, I learn more.
You and me both. I've been doing this for a minute and it's the same.
And it's like the more you know, the more you find out you don't know.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So I was going to ask originally, why are they important? And I think you've kind of broken that down as to why each one is, and it just depends on where you're at. So I know I just signed up to be an ACE certified personal trainer, and they have the ACE integrated fitness training and the ACE mover method, the IFT model. And the IFT model is making personal training more user centered. And I'm a user experience designer, so everything is becoming more user centered. With that being said, when you get a client, are you focused on building that program or nutrition around that client?
Absolutely. That's I think that's the linchpin when it comes to, encouraging and promoting change, because, a lot of times you'll see these package meal plans and, nutrition programs, and, they kind of take the one size fits all approach, when they bring them out or introduce them. And, I think it's so important to really get to know the person, and not only knowing them health wise, but knowing what their lifestyle is. If you have a busy mom that has got kids, and you tell her to implement a meal plan, that might not happen. She's, not only is she feeding herself, but she's feeding all her family. So, again, or if you got somebody that travels a lot, I've worked with truck drivers and their schedule is just all over the place. And, and along with that comes a certain mentality when it comes to not only change, but their mentality and approach to the food choices. So there's a number of things that play into changing someone's diet that, again, probably have little to do with food. So I definitely take a client-centered approach when it comes to that.
I was at a friend's house yesterday and she had food delivered.
Mhm.
And I've tried the meal prep, but the food that she had delivered was, I was trying to find the picture to find out what the name was.
Mhm.
It was, yeah, I guess I didn't get the name.
Mhm.
Uh, Sakara? You ever heard of that?
I have not, no.
So it's
Is it meal
basically
prep?
prepackaged and ready to eat in the package. All you have to do is either warm it up or open it and add the dressing, and it's all prepackaged. It's all vegan.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was pretty interesting. And like you said, depending on the lifestyle, I'm father, 5 children, podcast, work, exercise, all this stuff I'm trying to balance. Meal prep sounds great in theory. I'm making all the meals ahead of time and I'm lying to myself saying that I'm going to feel like eating this throughout the week. And
Exactly.
then by day 3, I'm like, I don't want that. I want McDonald's.
Exactly. Because we are not programmed. Well, I won't say we're not programmed, but I think when we think about nutrition and think about changing our diet, like that's the thought is that I either have to go hard and meal prep and commit to eating all of those meals that I prepped, or I'm failing or I'm not doing it right. But again, there's like 100,000 different ways to do this. If you know that after day 3, you're not gonna be feeling those meals, then that's something that we need to plan for. And that's, again, something that's important because, that causes people to kind of fall off the wagon and get discouraged when it comes to changing their diet. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Do you find that, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was saying that that meal sounds pretty good.
Oh yeah. I just from looking at it, I was like, I've got to invest in this because I did HelloFresh and it, again, sounds good in theory, but when you send you a bunch of ingredients and a picture with a QR code that leads you to nothing about cooking it, no video, it's just the same thing that you have on the picture, just instructions. I'm ADHD. I can't even focus for things I need, much less like I have to remind myself to eat at times.
Right.
HelloFresh, I had to cancel because I didn't even know that you could pick your meals. I just thought they sent you whatever and just forgot to do that part. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cancel it and I'm going to go back to what I know. Oatmeal and egg whites, chicken and nuts and salad and olive oil and all the good stuff. I had to train myself to eat the same thing every day for like 6 months just to get the results because it was too much brain power to figure out what. And then I would eat whatever I wanted just in smaller portions. And when you realize that you can only have a half a slice of pizza and that doesn't fill you up, you just don't want pizza anymore.
Right.
How much of what I was going to ask is how much of what you do you think hinges on mindset? Do you have to do a lot of mindset work with your clients?
Absolutely. I would say, yeah, a good 75% is focusing on mindset. Because again, when it comes to changing diet, we have such a love affair with food, most of us do, and present company included. But yes, there's such a love affair with food. And there's so many like positive, along with the negative things that are connected to food to where you almost
I've got a whole drawer full of snacks.
Yes, you are not the only one. I think I got some snacks underneath my desk too. But yes, we have such a connection to food. It's everywhere. It's embedded and ingrained within our culture. To where we don't celebrate birthdays or holidays without it. We don't gather with friends most of the time without food, and it's just again embedded to where you almost have to allow people to rethink or reimagine what food looks like in their lives if they want to get healthier and change their diet in that way. And so, again, it's not to say that we have to disconnect food from, all of the wonderful things that we do in life. It's just we have to rethink and reimagine what that looks like, whether it be allowing ourselves to have that flexibility on those days that are most important to us, or finding different ways to, celebrate that are healthier and better for us. So, yeah.
I got to the point somewhere in 2011 where I was like, please don't bring me any more cake for my birthday. Bring me ribs, bring me green beans, Brussels sprouts, something different. I'm so tired of cake. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, I was going to ask if you had 3 tips that you could leave with the listeners today. What would be the 3 steps to reset yourself and get on the right path?
Yeah. So I think the first one would be eat more plants. We can't go wrong with a plant-based diet, and a plant-based diet is not going vegan. There's a misconception there. So as long as you increase the amount of plants that are in your diet, you're heading in the right direction, and that doesn't have to be fresh from Trader Joe's. It could be out of the frozen food section. It could be, canned, if it's not added salt in there or added sugar. But just eat more plants. I think the second thing would be is to become more aware of what you're eating, and again, focusing on what your triggers are when it comes to eating. Are you eating because you're actually hungry, or are you eating because you're bored, or eating because you're upset or angry or sad? There's a huge difference between hunger and feeding emotions, and I think if we become more aware of those patterns when it comes to taking in food and really address those, we can change, we can make a big change just in changing those and becoming more aware. And I think the third thing is relax, when
Mm.
it comes to food, just relax. Like it doesn't have to be a challenge, it doesn't have to be a struggle, it doesn't even have to be hard. Just whatever change you think you can make when it comes to your diet, just do that consistently. And the rest will just kind of fall in place. So,
I'm really loving that third one because I am an on switch or off switch person. There is either I am all in or I am not doing it at all. And
yeah,
I do bad with streaks. If I miss a day at the gym,
yeah,
it becomes 2, then a week, then 3 weeks,
mhm,
and then before you know it, I've gained more weight back.
yes,
It's
yes.
just that one. So relax. That I needed to hear. I I just remembered what I was going to say too. So
Okay.
about the calories, they did a study on mice, of course, because can't study on people anymore.
Right.
At least not uh, where they know it. And they thought that it was the flavor of food, the richness of food that we're addicted to. And what they found was it was high calorie foods.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not it's not the flavor, it's the rush that we get from the high calories that is addicting. So
Yeah.
no matter like Starbucks did this test. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they had these tiny little mini bites that were packed with calories. I never tried one because I don't want to be a guinea pig.
Right.
But after hearing about this study, I look back and I was like, wow, they're trying to figure out how to make as much money off of as little possible. And when I
Absolutely.
say it was tiny, it was like $7 for something that was maybe a 2x2 square.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's set up for real.
Yeah. So that so relax. Do whatever consistently and with ease.
Yes.
All right. So to recap, we've got eat more plants, become more aware, and relax.
Yes.
It seems to be a theme throughout all of coaching and all spiritual programs.
Hmm.
Is it always about boils down to how we think?
Absolutely.
Um, I saw on your page that there was a sugar reset. Actually, let me rewind because I forgot to mention this. You just were able to add international speaker to your resume. I
Mm.
wanted you to talk about that. That was the um,
The
I could have
girlfriend
sworn
getaway.
that the sisters at the well.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, tell us a little more about that. That's really
Wow.
cool. I'm a speaker as well, so I commend you on that one. It takes a lot of courage.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I was, to my surprise, invited to participate in this wellness conference. It was the Girlfriend Getaway. And so the focus was on bringing women of color together, because we know that, there are a lot of health disparities amongst African American women. And, we just have a culture to where, we come together, we help and support each other. And that's what this conference was about. It was, bringing women together that are on different stages of their health journeys, but all with a common goal to be able to, receive knowledge and empowerment in order to be able to go home and, continue on their health and wellness journey. And so We had a bunch of speakers. We had some transformational speakers. We had some a physician there, myself. My focus was on digestive health and how it impacts nutrition, and just kind of again a nutrition 101, giving the basics. But we had exercise. We did yoga on the beach. This was in St. Martin, by the way. Yes. Oh, it was amazing. Yes, yoga on the beach, in the morning is untouched. It's an amazing.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. I do yoga at Lifetime Fitness and I thought that was cool, which is
Yes.
actually what I'm doing after this. It just, I don't think, yeah, wow. Yoga on the beach.
Yes. Yes.
That that's on my goals list.
Yeah. It should be like everybody should experience that once. But again, an amazing experience. And the coordinator, Jacqueline Glass, she has a company. It's called At the Well Conferences, and she does a lot of work around coordinating conferences. And this particular space, health and wellness, is near and dear to her because of her personal experience. And just by chance, we connected on Facebook, and the rest is history. So, of course, I'd be remiss in not mentioning her because, she's the one that provided this opportunity to me.
Jacqueline Glass?
Yes, Jacqueline.
Okay.
Glass. Yes, we call her Jackie.
Jackie.
Yes.
Miss Jackie.
Yes.
Well, Miss Jackie, I'm coming for you.
Yes.
That is so amazing. So, was that your first time being able to speak like that, or have you been able to speak at different places?
Yeah, it was my first time in that particular venue, if you will.
Okay.
I hadn't spoken at any conferences before. I've done a lot of group classes and webinars, things like that. But it's just a different vibe being in that kind of space and being able to deliver a message. And I was a little apprehensive, truth be told, and a little nervous, but I was just thankful that I could contribute to that environment like that. Mhm.
Absolutely. Service, right?
Of course, always.
So I have a few questions mulling around in my head, and one of them that keeps coming to the forefront is, what was your most difficult transformation with a customer, user,
Hmm.
client? Not sure what we call them nowadays. Guest.
People, yeah, client is yeah, the generic form that I use. But um, wow, that's a really good question. I'm currently working with a client that had a lot to unpack. This particular client obviously came to me for weight loss. But long story short, as we're working together, because initially we kind of identify what, their intent was or is. When I work with my clients, I kind of outline what they want to focus on, and then we kind of set goals around their focus. So we did that for, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. And, I found that she would do well one week and then she would just fall off the wagon the next week. And so, we kind of had to have like a come to Jesus talk, like, what's really going on. And, come to find out that, number one, this was a lifelong struggle for her. And so we had to unpack that a little bit, and really delve into her relationship with food. And then, we had to dive into, how she balances work and life, because she was one that really, kind of dove into her work and forgot about everything else, including her health and wellness. So, just setting goals around making health a priority. We focused in on sleep. So just a lot to kind of tweak and adjust. And now she's at a place, I'm happy to say that she's kind of got a lot more balance now, to where now we can really focus on tweaking food choices and encouraging exercise, because we did all that hard work to get her to this place. And I wasn't alone in supporting her in that way. She had a therapist that she was working with, but at the same time, like, when they're in my space, with me, again, there's just so much going on sometimes that you just really have to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what can we focus on to get you to a place where now you're open to making food changes?
Yes. Let's really unpack what the root cause is.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that she had a therapist, though, because it sounded like you were starting. I say she, your client
Yes. Yes.
has a therapist, because it sounded like you were starting to have to become a therapist with the questions you had to ask. That's so cool, though. The transformations that can happen just from changing mindset
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
really, like you said, becoming aware.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness is like the first step to any change.
Absolutely.
With
Absolutely.
that being said, there's a question here. I know it. I'm not sure how to word this.
Just say it.
I know, right? Is there, so I like quotes, sayings, mantras, things that stick, bumper stickers. Is
Yeah.
there a saying, a quote, or a mantra that you heard one time that stuck with you that continues to help and change you and your clients?
Ooh. Gosh, there's, gosh, I don't, there,
I
that's
see
a
three on
hard.
your page right now.
There is, and I think, God, that's a hard question. Um, you know, Not that I share this with my clients, per se, as motivation or encouragement for them, but it's always kind of in the forefront of my mind. My father used to tell me to shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be amongst the stars. And I think, when it comes to, a more practical application of that, again, sometimes, we hesitate in how we approach life and how we approach food, because we're afraid to shoot, you know. And so, not that we have to, have big lofty goals, but, just going into this thing thinking that, okay, I'm strong enough, I'm capable enough to make any change. And again, whatever change I make, even if I kind of miss the mark, I'm still on my way to making those changes. So I'm still amongst the stars, And so I think, if anything, I always encourage my clients to set their intention. I say that a lot. What are your intentions? And how can we set them? Because it's one thing to have intentions, but if we
Mhm.
set them, that promotes action. And
Mm.
it promotes change. So I would say those are probably my two favorites. But again, there's just so many things.
That is so cool. So shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll fall amongst the stars.
Yes,
And what are your intentions? Set your intentions.
yes,
And then my favorite is here, just do it.
just do it. Yes, yes.
And that kind of ties in with shooting for the moon. I think I said this before we started. Ignorance
Mhm.
on fire is better than knowledge on ice.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes you just have to do something,
Mhm.
because it's better than overthinking and not moving and letting fear paralyze you. And here recently for myself, as much as other people see success and
Mhm.
courage and confidence, there's still that piece of me that I'm not shooting as much as I could or as far as I could or going as hard as I possibly can.
Right,
There's still
right.
some places where I hesitate. And the question I get all the time is, why are you second guessing yourself?
Hmm.
And after talking to you here, I'm inclined to say I'm making the wrong food choices.
But and that's the other thing about this is that most people know how to eat healthy, like just generally. We know. It's just, when people come to me, they're looking for that accountability and that reassurance that what they're doing is right, and I'm happy to give it to them, because at the end of the day, again, there's that confidence, having confidence in the fact that you have that knowledge, and again, putting action to it and setting those intentions. So, yeah.
Yeah, the intentions part, that's one thing our coach focuses on a lot. And I'm glad that he started incorporating it into our weekly calls because we set our intentions Monday. We check in on Friday with what are our wins, what did we learn? Do we have any questions? And that setting the intention, if I don't know where I'm shooting my dart, it's gonna land anywhere.
That's
But
right.
9 times out of 10, when I have a target, at least I'll get in the ballpark of where I want to go, shooting for the
Exactly.
moon and landing amongst the stars, right?
Right.
Is there a question that you think everybody should be asking themselves?
What are you waiting for? You know?
At it, mm, there are no coincidences. I feel like you're speaking directly to me here.
I mean, because it's true, again, we know what healthy eating looks like in some form. And, there's this hesitation that, oh, I'm not going to do it the way it needs to be done. So I'm just not going to do it. But
Mm,
in reality, just like you said, just do it. What are you waiting for? Because again, there's never going to be a perfect time to change your eating habits. However, we know that if you eat unhealthy for any length of time, there's an increased risk of, becoming unhealthy. We know diet is connected to diabetes, heart disease, certain cancers. And so there's just this culture that says, oh, well, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll change my diet later, and, why
so
wait?
yeah,
Yeah.
why? That's so good. So what are you waiting for? I can't tell you how many times that's been the question on my podcast.
Hmm.
Maybe worded in different ways, but it's always the gist of being courageous, right?
Absolutely.
There's something that you said that I was going to comment on just
Hmm.
now. It happens every time.
It's okay.
Knowing how to eat right and still not doing it because
Yeah.
it's either we're going to go all out and do it right or we're just not going to do it all because that the culture says I'll do it later.
Yeah.
Procrastination, uh, credit, right?
Yeah.
I'll buy it now and I'll pay for it later is
Yeah.
always the intention, but debt is the result. I feel
Exactly.
like there's a parallel there to our health.
Hmm.
I'm going to buy this McDonald's or Jack in the Box or whatever fast food on credit, and
Yeah.
I'll pay myself back later with the broccoli and Brussels sprouts and grilled chicken.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally feel the difference when I've fasted, drank water. And that's another thing that I've learned for me is when I'm hungry, usually I'm
Hmm.
just thirsty,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I feel the difference when I've taken a moment to let my body reset, kind of clear out the crap, drink a lot of water, fast long enough to actually feel hunger for food, and then eat something like mushrooms, chicken with just salt and garlic on it.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Yeah.
like broccoli that was just barely steamed, like not cooked to a crisp, just a little heat on it, and you eat it and you feel it in here, and you kind of, it gives you the chills, you feel energy going through you, and it's like, I love that feeling.
Yeah.
But somehow a cupcake or a large fry is so much more satisfying, and it's not. It's really not. I feel like crap every time I eat fried food.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm.
What could be, I feel like there's something I'm missing, like there's these blinders on. What am I missing here? Why is that the case for us?
Well, I think you talked a little bit about it earlier with the mice study. When it comes to high fat and high sugar food, the quote reward that we get is more of a high. Those kind of foods, promote the release of dopamine, and that's kind of like our high hormone, if you will. And so, we feel like we need them, and they're satisfying, but really they're just kind of promoting that kind of physiological response, but it's short lived. It's just like, I hate to use this term, but it's the truth. It's just like, taking drugs, or, we get that
True.
high and then we have to come down, but, when it comes to eating healthy foods, especially in the setting of a healthy gut, and I think that's super important too. And that's a whole nother podcast we could do. But when you're priming your gut, either by, going on a fast, kind of cleansing out your system, drinking more water, just really getting your gut ready, physically, your body is more capable of absorbing those nutrients that it needs in order to give you energy, in order to, promote health and healing. And so, that in and of itself is a more sustained form of high, because not only are you kind of feeding those hormones, you're really feeding your whole body, and your body can break down that good food into things that it can use to make you feel good. So yeah, that's the difference.
The light bulb just went off. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking to a recovering addict, alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
You said sustained high. Now you're speaking my language. Now I want to eat right because
There we
it's a
go.
longer. I just made this matrix. I like to come up with new ways to hack my thought process, brain, uh, personality.
Yeah.
I'm a rebel, so I can't even set rules for myself because I'll break those, right?
Yeah.
So I have this, actually, I have a love and loathe list. So
Okay.
things I love to do and things I can't stand doing,
Uh-huh.
I have those mapped out so that I can be aware
Yeah.
what I'm doing when I'm doing it that I
Yeah.
don't want to be. But this was more of a practice of awareness for me. I made a
Mm-hmm.
matrix. It's a um, instant gratification matrix. So
Mm.
I'll draw it out real quick, and I encourage people to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you write out on there. I'll show it so that you can see it.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be backwards. So
I
instant
can.
gratification, delayed
Yeah.
gratification,
Yeah.
short term, long term. And
Mm-hmm.
in each quadrant, you write out, if I do this now, what's in the short term? What am I going to feel? And then in the long term, what's that going to be? And what you'll find is that delayed in the short term, you'll feel a little less uh, intense version of what you'll feel in the long term with the instant. But
Yeah.
this is where you want to be.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when I wrote that out for myself to see, the impulses kind of calmed down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how awareness can just change things. So, with all that being said, do you have? I know I saw some stuff on your site and that there's like a membership as well. Do you have tools like these that you give your clients to kind of help hack their brains as well?
I do. I think the most beneficial tool that I can appreciate is I have kind of a food and mood worksheet. So instead of tracking like we do with other food trackers, if you will, I won't name any names, but there's a pretty popular one that a lot of people use. But instead of tracking, yes, you said it, I didn't. But instead of tracking, like in that sense, tracking macros, I like to explore how food and mood are connected. So I'll have my clients kind of journal what they eat. Sometimes they don't even have to, account for portion sizes or anything like that. Just tell me what you ate. Tell me how you feel before the meal. Tell me how you feel 30 minutes after, and then tell me how you feel about a couple hours after that meal. And again, it highlights, why we make our food choices, and how food affects us. So super valuable, provides a lot of insight into eating behaviors. And again, clients just really respond well to it. Yeah.
That is genius. I'm so glad I asked that question. That is, I'm going to need that. I'll trade you.
Yeah, I actually I've read a book called Intuitive Eating, and again, it just kind of changed my whole perspective because this isn't stuff they don't teach dietitians like in school. This is stuff we have to learn just in practice. So when you hear enough, like I can't control what I eat, or I just find myself having these cravings, like as a practitioner, you want to learn more about that. You want to understand why that's happening. And 9 times out of 10, it has, again, nothing to do with food. So intuitive eating, I've learned a lot about that, and just incorporate those skills, building those skills for my clients into my practice.
And as you were talking about monitoring, because my mood is on paper, they say I'm bipolar. I know it doesn't have anything to do with the chemical imbalance. It's what I put in my body, the things I choose to do that send me on a high. And you have to be taking an equal or lesser amount below the baseline to help regulate. And then you're doing this the whole time, trying to get back to normal.
Yeah.
I don't buy the whole bipolar thing.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest crutch you can use. And labels, that's a whole nother podcast, like you said. Labels just give you an excuse to not try. So I've been trying to hack my brain and body chemistry for years, trying to figure out how to get consistent. And it's just building new habits, building better habits, taking care of this one body we're given. It's the only one we have. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on this show today. I'm going to wrap it up as much as I don't want to, but as you said, there's a whole nother podcast here, and we are going to make it happen down the line.
Right.
But in the meantime, are there two people that you'd love to see on the show that you know could provide the same sort of wisdom as you, that you would love to see me interview?
Yeah. Oh gosh, just two?
Three.
Okay. Do you want me to call them out?
Call them out. Let them know that you're thinking of them while they're listening to this.
Yes, yes. So I would say the first one is actually my cousin. Her name is Latoya Franklin, and she is also a personal trainer, but she focuses on exercise and reducing stress and behavior change as well. So she kind of comes from the same vein as I do. However, she has a whole different perspective on it, and she has her own story that's just amazing. So I definitely want to put you in contact with her. She's such a sweetheart. I love her. And then the second person, oh, that's a hard one to narrow it down. I think the second person The second person would probably be one of my dear friends. Her name is Bonnie Woodfork. And she has a practice of creating and distributing affirmations. And all this was kind of born out of her own story. I don't want to spoil it just in case you have her on. But she's really got kind of a following when it comes to her affirmations. And I'm always encouraging her. I'm like, you should write a book. You should have a website, something. But again, she has an amazing story, just of resilience. And I definitely think your conversation with her will be of value.
I'm already seeing it right now in my head because we're on the same track as far as, I mean, I'm writing a couple books.
Nice.
One called God Kisses, about the coincidences in life that there are none.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's why it's working.
Huh.
Like what we talked about in the very beginning.
Yeah.
The more I find out I don't know, and I need to know more. Hence the question everything.
Yes.
You said Bonnie
Woodfork.
Woodfork.
Yep.
Okay. We can stop with those two right now. And if you have any more, you can send them to me. Unless you want to shout out a third one, I won't stop you there.
Oh, let me think about that one.
Okay, perfect. So I know, right? You're like, only two? And your brain is flooded.
Yes.
Well, it's been a pleasure and an honor talking to you. Stick around after I stop the recording. We can talk for just a second afterwards before yoga. And I do want to ask you, though, where can our listeners and viewers find you?
Yes. So I'm on Facebook, Jessica McCallister. I also have a website, www.jmcallisterrd.com. I do have a workbook that I've written that kind of gives you the basics of nutrition and gets you a jump start when it comes to changing your diet. It's Operation Nutrition from Beginner to Boss. It's on Amazon. I'm on Instagram, Nutritionista Jess. I'm on Twitter. The dietitian is in, and that's N as in the letter. Yeah, so those are probably the best places to find me.
All right, so I will be posting the link to the Amazon book in the description when I post this.
Thank
and
you.
At Nutritionista Jess, and then on Twitter, you said the handle was
The dietitian is in.
I love your creativity there.
Twitter only allows you so many characters.
Right? That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for dropping these jewels and nuggets on our listeners and viewers. I hope that this blesses somebody today. And until next time, continue to question everything.